Alrighty, welcome back to the next lecture of setting up your SQL environment on Windows. So if you're a Mac user, you can see the previous lecture, but if you're Windows, this is the right lecture for you. And before we get started, I want to point out a few things in case something wrong happens. So typically this section of the course can prove to be quite troublesome for some people. It's a little bit technical and a little bit complicated, but just be careful and follow our steps exactly in this video and you should be fine. A couple things to note: when you enter the course, this is your little kind of course taking browser. One thing you can do is go to this second tab here on the right hand side, click that, and that'll give you our lecture description. And here we'll put notes for you to follow and links and all that good stuff. Another thing to do is it's good to check this, especially for these installation lectures, because honestly for us, when we make a mistake or like we need to clarify something, it's kind of hard to make a new video. And so going to this notes, we can sometimes write little updates here. For example, here I have a note about some update here. So just make sure to check this as you go through the lecture and make sure that you have the most recent up-to-date information. Alrighty, with that said, let's get started. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is click this little link that we have here and download the MySQL installer for Windows. And here's a URL here. When you come here, it's going to give you two options here. The first option you could see has a smaller file size. That's if you're connected, if you have an internet connection with you right now as you're installing this. It's going to start downloading and installing through your internet connection. If you don't have an internet connection and you want to still install it, you can do that and download this. It's a larger file size, so you can do it locally. I have an internet connection, so I'm just going to click download here. You can just skip this little sign up page, and there's a small link there. Click no thanks, just start my download. And there it goes. It's starting to download. Once it's finished downloading, go ahead and open that up and click run. And it's going. Okay, so when you finish installing, you might get this little upgrade available kind of thing. You can just click no. I think that's fine. And it'll finish shooting up that installer. Okay, you accept the terms, click next. Here, the only thing we really need is a server for our purposes. So just click server only and then press next. Okay, so I've already installed MySQL before, and so it's giving me this error. And it's saying, oh, there's this path, this folder directory already exists. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Click next and then execute. And then it's going to start downloading the actual installation files and stuff. Okay, one thing to note as this is downloading, some people have had issues with this most recent installer. So you can see this is the version number for the MySQL installer that Oracle or MySQL has pushed out recently. And so they're always updating this thing with little fixing bugs and whatnot. And if you happen to install an installer that has a bug or it's not working for you, we have a link here also that has an archived version. And so you can go here, and these are archived versions, and you could select older versions that should work for you. So our original video had version 5.6.21, so that should work. So you can go to 5.6.21 and download that. And for us, that was a stable release. If that doesn't work, shoot us a note in the comments or just download an older version. And those should all work. Everything should be fine. The updates are minor and just little fixes. But for the most part, it should be fine for everybody. Okay, it's complete now. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. And it's going to say it's ready to configure. And it's going to ask me for my configuration type. Just keep the settings all default. Go ahead and click next. Next, it's going to ask you for your root password. I already set up MySQL, and that's why it's asking me for my current one. But if you hadn't installed MySQL before, you probably don't have this first one asking for your current root password. So I'm going to type in my old root password, which was SQL for Noobs. I'm going to type in my new one, which is going to be the same exact thing, SQL for Noobs. And that's perfect. Go ahead and press next. Just keep both of these checked. this one you definitely want to keep check where it says start the MySQL server at system startup. This will automatically fire up your server so you can just log in and start writing queries. Otherwise, you're going to have to manually start the SQL server each time. So just keep this as it is and then go ahead and press next. Alrighty, execute. And it's going through every single step. Alright, so the configuration's been finished and we're done with this. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is download the data files. So this is where it has all the data and all the tables and all the structure for the database that we're going to be building, that we'll be using and querying against. So you can go back to our lecture and then scroll all the way down on that sidebar and click this downloadable resource that says Sequila DB. Click download. This is going to be a zip file that has the actual files of the data. So we click this, and there it goes. It's starting to download. Once it finishes downloading, go ahead and unzip that. So let's go extract all, and we'll extract it to there. So obviously I've done this twice, and that's why it's giving me that 2 there. But there you go. This is your data files, and it has these 3 files in there. The 2 important ones that we're going to be using are these 2. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and install these 2 files. So what we need to do is go to our Windows button and then look for MySQL command line client. And so just click that first one that shows up. Enter your root password that you just created. For us, it was SQL for noob, so I'll just go type that, and I'll say welcome, you got in. Okay, so you typed in the right password. The next thing we need to do is need to install these 2 files. It's important, keep note of this, that you install Sequila-schema first. This sets up the structure for your actual data to be filled in. So we're going to first do this one. You need to do this one first. Type in source, and then just drag this over there, and I'll put in the file path to that actual file. You need to make sure to delete these little kind of little apostrophe thingies, quotation marks. Oops. And make sure there's a space in between that and the file path. And then go ahead and press enter. And there it goes. It's installing the schema file. Next, we want to, now that we have the structure completed, we need to fill all those empty tables with actual data. So to do that, we need to install the data file. So type in source again. Go ahead and drag that in there. Delete the quotation marks. You need to use your actual arrow buttons because you can't use a mouse on this. We're all good. Press enter. And there we go. It's done installing both files. To make sure everything went okay, let's type in the command use Sequila, and it'll say database change, and that's a good sign for us. Just to see if there are actual tables, we can type in the command show tables and semicolon. When you click that, it should list all the different tables that are in our database. All right, so there we go. We're good to go. So you can actually write your SQL queries in this command line client here. So we can do one here, like an example one. Select star, that means all. Select everything from the table film, and then let's limit it to just 10 answers. So we don't want the whole table, every record from the table. We just want 10. Just click enter, and that'll show you the first 10 records. Now this is kind of ugly looking, and it takes a little bit longer to run and show. And so we want to view this in a nicer way. And to do that, we're going to download a GUI. And so we're going to go ahead and download Heidi SQL. And so we're going to be using Heidi SQL. This is another free download, along with the other one was a free download. This is also as well. So go ahead and go to downloads, click installer. All right, click installer. And there it goes, it's downloading. Okay, so it's finished downloading. So we'll go ahead and open up the setup file here. Run this. All right, and so we're at the setup wizard. Click next, accept their terms, choose that file. Okay, great. It's going to create a shortcut. Awesome. Create a desktop icon. Yeah, sure. Sounds all good. Install. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and launch this. So click finish and launch. All right, and so we're here, and we're going to go ahead and click New, and click a new session name. Okay, it brings us to this point, and you said the user is root. That's like the master user. And go ahead and write your root password that you put in. So ours was SQL for Noobs. Click that, and then go ahead and click Save so that it saves it here. Let's go ahead and rename this to something else. This will be called Sakila. So this is to access the Sakila database. Let's delete this old one. Yes. Alright, so we're good to go. Press open. Now we see here the different databases we have installed on our SQL server. So we can go ahead and click Sakila. Okay, and to give you a little overview of how to navigate around this thing, you're going to see a few main things that you'll be using. One is at the database. You'll see the different tables in here. And so let's go ahead and open up this first table here we have called actor. So go ahead and double click that. And it'll take you to the table called actor. We can go back to our database here and choose another table to look at, but we have in this table a table called actor. It tells us there's a different column names there, and if we want to see the actual data, we click on data. So here we go. This is what our table looks like. It has actors, their IDs, their first name, the last name, and the last time this was updated. We're going to spend a lot of our time in the query writer. So here you write your query. So we can do select star from actor limit 10. So we ran that query last time. Okay, and then go ahead and press run, execute SQL. You could also press F9 to run that. And there you go. It pulled that same thing we did in the terminal or the command line prompt, but now it does it in this really quick, easy to look at format that you could also use to export as a CSV file into Microsoft Excel, so you can do some more analysis that way. So there you go. There you have it. You're pretty much done. Anytime you go into our query, you're going to do the same exact thing. You're going to open up Sakila. So let's try that again. No, we don't need that. Let's go ahead and open up Heidi SQL. And our password was saved, hopefully, from last time. Just click open, and you're back in our database. And you could write your queries here. There's also a table view here that you could look at. And so, there you go. I recommend going full screen to make everything a little bit easier to see. And you could adjust this little workview the way you want it, but that's how it's going to go, and that's how you're going to write your queries. All right, so go ahead. You're done with the installation. That's the hard part. Now let's get to the fun part of actually writing some queries and doing some data analysis. Woo! All right, see you in the next lecture.